Good evening, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico. Starting oil painting Violet. This will be the third? Yes, third in the secondary triptych, because I did green and we're working on orange. Orange is over there. To the left. But for this one, Violet is going to be a larger canvas size to go with the blue in the primary triptych, so that each color triptych will have its own largest centerpiece, and then two pieces on either side of it. Would be the idea if it were displayed as I'd like them to be. So I'm going to start this one with a magenta background and then a deep purple center, just kind of radiating outwards from it, and see where it goes from there. There we go.
We can have some discussion about today. Yeah, I would bet that what he was intending to indicate by his description of it as a vine that grows close to the ground was what's called sacrostemma or ephedra. Both of these, the closest thing to what I'm talking about is this native plant called Mormon tea in California. Do any of you know it? It has a kind of odd habit of growth, long and unbranching stems. This is one of the things that is always suggested, especially in the Kashmiri Shaivite tradition, as being the soma source. Yeah. And it is a soma substitute in the reenactment of the Vedic ceremonies. Really, it's pretty unsatisfying to grapple with the soma problem, because if you're true to the evidence, that it's hard to make it fit anything very well. This book I mentioned yesterday when I did the survey, called Hauma and Harmaline by Flattery, it convinced me that I had been too quick to assume that Pergamon Harmala alone couldn't be a reliable hallucinogen. I never understood why Naranjo's patients in his book The Healing Journey reported ayahuasca-like visions when he didn't in fact give them ayahuasca, but he gave them harmony. Now I understand that what I was in the dark about before was the fact that harmine is not strongly hallucinogenic, and that that's what's in Banisteriopsis caapi, activating DMT, but not contributing to the hallucinogenic activity, really. So it's entirely possible that soma was Pergamon Harmala. If this is true, it will be of great, and it will inspire great smugness in certain quarters, because when you check back through the soma controversy, the very earliest suggestion by a Western scholar was a French character in 1701 who said, "It is the giant Syrian root," which so it well may seem to be. The thing that is so peculiar about Amanita muscaria is that the active principle passes out in your urine, so that you can drink the urine a second time and obtain the intoxication. Well, this is a pretty extreme aspect to a rite. So you would expect that if this rite were being practiced by thousands of people and generating an entire literature, that this would be explicitly somewhere referred to in some way. And in fact, it's impossible to torment the text of the Vedas to yield a convincing passage where urine and cattle are explicitly connected to soma. It just isn't there. What Flattery did was he worked from this Avestan, Zend-Avestan material generated by the religion of Zoroaster, that is actually antedates this favorite material, and says that all this talk of the pressings and the filters and all that only makes sense if pergamon harmolite is what is being used. And so it may in fact be. Some of you have heard me talk about Mandaeanism, which is this fascinating, very old cult in the Middle East. They say and said different things in their peregrinations through time, but they claimed to be that branch of original Christian intentionality that drew itself around John the Baptist. They were a baptismal cult pre-Christ, but just like 40 years before. And they then, in the diaspora, they were in Lebanon for a long time, and they eventually made their way to the swamps of Iraq and Iran, and what their fate there was, I have not heard. The last anthropology was done in the late 30s, but these people, Mandaeans, Sabians, have a mythology and an ontology of being that is very suggestive of the kind of psychedelic conceptions of the soul and the afterlife that is characterized by the Harmene using groups in the Amazon. For instance, they have the notion of the double that one meets at the end of life, that comes to join with the departing soul. And interestingly, these people have this very strongly held notion of the parallel dimension, but not with a lot of value judgment on it as to that it is a superior or inferior plane of reality. In other words, it is simply accessible and different. This seems to me to suggest that there may have been pergamon harmolite use all across the Anatolian plateau and the Persian plain. This is where this plant is still used in Mandaean ceremonies and in preparing the homa in the Parsi sacrifice. And that's a very old religion that is pre-Zoroastrian. So, you know, the central motif of Iranian religion is undifferentiated light. This is what it's all about. In the Tibetan pantheon, it is manifest as Amitabha, which is boundless light. Upame, is light. Upame is boundless light. And this Iranian hypostatization of God moved out in all directions. It infected Mandaeanism, Mandaean communities in Central Asia, in Samarkand and Khotan, and it was, a major focus of the Hellenistic mystical thing, especially in certain cults. Well, that's enough about Soma. This is all unresolved now, you see, because of Flattery's book, because it was accepted that Soma was Amanita muscaria simply on the weight of Watson's reputation and public relations skill, really. But the fact that nobody could ever get high from it just was an insurmountable barrier to the theory. So now there's this other idea going around.
Where LSD comes out of all this, and it's something quite different. Can you say anything about that?
You mean in its modern manifestation? Well, I talked yesterday about these naturally occurring forms of ergot hallucinogens. LSD was invented by Albert Hoffmann, a Swiss pharmaceutical chemist. He was trying to invent drugs like Pitocin, drugs which induce labor, because these ergotamine compounds are extremely efficient smooth muscle contractors. So they were exploring the possibility of a drug patent on a compound that would induce labor. And he discovered, and I won't retell the story because I'm sure you all know it, it's enshrined in the annals of psychedelic mythology, but it's a famous bicycle ride through the streets of Basel where it slowly dawned on him something strange was going on.
Okay, that starts it.
But it was put away. This was in
I like the
47.
subtle texture left, the deep brush strokes, if I can get the
43.
aperture to show you.
Then the Swiss
Oop,
began
way
looking
too
at
dark.
it very quietly. It didn't begin to surface in the journals until 47, 48, and by
There we go.
68, it was highly illegal and highly, there's a lot of
Alright, well that's
pressure
pretty
on it.
deep.
So
It's hard to
really,
see
it only
or
enjoyed
that close, I
20
suppose.
years,
But anyway, it's a pretty deep, vivid violet, and the magenta perimeter sort of seeping through around the edges and into the rest of the color as well, just a little bit. But I'm going to develop this from here, and we'll see where it goes. That's it for the moment, though. Thanks for watching. That's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico. Working on starting oil painting violet, third in the secondary triptych. Have a good night, Earth.
Accustomed to measuring drugs in milligrams.